Hi guys, it's Caitlin and this is Book Chats, and today I am filming Top 5 Wednesday. I'm so excited. I haven't filmed these in such a long time, but the August topics are so great and I've been wanting to film, and so I was like, I am doing this. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is top 5 books that you feel differently about. So these are books that you thought about them some way when you first encountered them or read them, and then later after time elapsed and maybe you reread them and maybe you didn't, maybe you just read some commentary on them, your opinion of these books changed. First book is actually a book that I judged without having read it, and then when I finally read it I was like, you idiot, this book was amazing. And that is The Boyfriend List by E. Lockhart. This series, this is the new cover. I also have the old cover. Yes, I own 2 copies of this book. Shh. Anyway, I saw the original cover, which has like a frog on it and like the boyfriend list, and I just saw the title and the description, and I was in high school when it came out, I was like, whatever, these books are not for me. These books are for those other girls who are like obsessed with boys, and I didn't pick it up and read it. And then years later in college, I read the Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, which I loved, and so I picked this book up as well, and I loved the crap out of it. I love Ruby. I love the things she goes through. I love that this book isn't really about boys so much as it's about friendship and the dissolution and starting of that, and also like how to just deal with life. The next is a series, and my opinion went the other way, and it's the opinion of the series as a whole. And the series is the Redwall series by Brian Jacques. The Redwall series, so I got into the series in middle and early high school. I was reading through them so fast. There was this great animated show on PBS, and it was wonderful, and I read through this series so fast. I read like 5 of the books in the series, and I got to like the 5th or 6th book and I was loving them, and I'm sitting there and someone made this comment to me and immediately it changed how I saw the series, and I could never read another one, and I have not picked one up to date after that comment was made, and I'm going to tell you guys what the comment was. So if you are currently reading the Redwall series and the Redwall books and you're loving them and enjoying them, like, don't listen. I will put my hand up. When I put my hand down, you can listen again, but do not listen to this unless you want your opinion of these books to be ruined. And I don't think this opinion applies to the first 3 books that were written in the series, which are Redwall, Madameo, and Salamandastron, or perhaps they're in a different order. Anyway, those 3 I think this comment does not apply to, but the rest of the ones that I read, I really think it does. And I'm putting my hand up because here's what that person said. This person looked at me, looked at what I was reading, and was like, oh yeah, the Redwall books, I really loved those, and I was reading them until I realized that they're all the same. And they are, guys. I thought about it, I realized that that person was absolutely right, and I could never read another book in that series because they're not short books, they're hefty, fat adult fantasy books, and they are just, yeah, what that person said. Next book, my number 3, is also a series that my opinion have changed, and I think my opinion of the first book still stands, but my opinion of the series as a whole was completely changed by the 2nd and 3rd books in the series, and that is the Rising Trilogy by Pierce Brown. I have Golden Sun, which I actually own, and I have Morning Star, which I am almost halfway through, maybe halfway through. Anyway, you will hear more about this because I'm planning to do a whole video about the series and this particular like opinion change when I finally finish Morning Star, which I've been going through so slowly because the anticipation of peril is so great, guys. But this is a series that I read the first book and I was just like, it was good, but it was really not that great, guys. Like, I don't know why people are praising this. The first third of the book is really slow, and the way that Pierce writes about women is awful. Like, they're all just tools for the men in the story and tools to push forward the storylines of the men in the story. And so I was not planning on continuing on the series. I didn't hate it. I wasn't going to go out and badmouth it everywhere, but I didn't understand why people loved it so much, and I wasn't going to bother to continue. And then I met Rebecca, who some of you know from her channel, Why Mermaids. Well, I happened to pick up a cheap copy of Golden Sun at my library, and I was like, I'll just try Golden Sun, and if I like it, I like it, and if I don't have to finish. As you can tell, I read Golden Sun, and I was hooked. It was great. All of the complaints that I had were gone. This starts in media res. It's so fast and interesting, and the women are fleshed out so much more than they are in the first book. There are new female characters and old female characters alike that we find out more about and that we get to meet, and it's just so well done. And I just have to think that somehow like Pierce or someone close to him read some of those critiques people had dad or like someone he trusted was like, hey man, you just use women to further your plot and you need to treat them like actual like beings that have their own motivations and their own lives, and he fixed it, and I'm so ridiculously like impressed. All the props go to Rebecca so much. So that is book number 3, or series, a series of books that my opinion changed on. The next book is book number 2 of the books that my opinion of changed, and that is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. So I had to read this in school, and I remember reading it in school and thinking it was very weird. It is a collection of short stories that are written about Vietnam War scenes, various little vignettes. I read it in school in my senior year of high school, and it was like, I didn't get it. Like, I really didn't get it, guys. And I remember just being like, I don't understand what we're supposed to get out of this book. It's really weird. There's like really weird things that happen in it. And it wasn't until a year or two later, I actually didn't even reread the book. It's like it just sat with me, and it sat with me, and it sat with me, and it sat with me. And the more it sat with me, the more I realized that I remembered from the book, and how the more poignant it became in my memory. And I actually own a copy of this now, although it's not on my shelves here in Texas, that I bought specifically because I was like, I have to own this book. It is so remarkable how well it's written, how much it sticks with you, and how it just eats into you. It's like an earworm, but like a brain worm. Like, you just remember it, and it's so much more profound than I originally had seen, and it's all the weirdness is like intentional, and I'm not describing it well, but if you've read this book, hopefully you know what I'm talking about. And so if you haven't read The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, I would definitely recommend it to you. And if you first read it and you think this is weird as all else, know that I thought that too. Book number 1, the final book I'm going to talk about, this book that my opinion changed of, is actually a picture book. I don't have a copy of it here, but I'm going to put a little picture of the cover on the screen. Some of you may have heard of this and some of you haven't. My mom read this book to me all the time when I was a kid, and I was like, what the crap? This picture book was not written for children. It was written for adults. It's called Love You Forever, and it tells a story of basically like parents watching their child grow up, and it's like, I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as you're with me, my baby you'll be, and the child grows and grows, and it's, as a kid, having that book read to me, I was like, this book is dumb. This book is dumb, and nothing happens, and it's just stupid, and I don't know why my mom gets all emotional about it, because it's just whatever. And then a couple years ago, I picked it up and I read it as an adult, and it just got me. Like, I started crying halfway through the book, and I was bawling by the end. And it's like 20 pages long or something. It is not that long, guys. But the poignancy of how fast you grow as a kid, and the role of parents in your lives, and even there's a moment at the end where there's a role reversal that happens. And just, it hit me so hard, and my opinion of this book completely 180'd. And now I realize, like, it is not a book that is written for kids. It is a kid's book that is for parents, and that's why I thought it was boring when I was a child, and now it means so much to me. As an adult reading again, I was like, wow, this book is so poignant, and it speaks so much to like these things that we can't control or stop, but that are so beautiful in our lives. I have a couple runners up that I want to give a hat tip to quickly. The Throne of Glass series I have not reread, and if I ever reread it, I think my opinion might change. I'm not sure. A lot of it is colored by the fact that I've been following Sarah for so long, 10 plus years. I read her original story, but when I read the most recent story, I both thought it was the best written of the books and couldn't give it a higher rating than a 3 stars because of some things that I struggled with in it, and that's silly because definitely the other books in the series were not necessarily as well written, and yet I've given them higher stars. So I think if I ever went back and reread them, I might lower their rating, but I'm not sure because I haven't done that, and I'm not sure if I will. So that is one thing. And then an honorable mention, my opinion of the book didn't change like hugely, but it did like open up a new corner and a new things for me to consider when I'm reading, and that is Walk on Earth a Stranger by Ray Carson, which I loved when I read it, and I still love this book, but I read a really, really, really important review that's written for the perspective of a Native American, and she talks about the way that Native Americans are treated in this book, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things I was really blind to. And if you check out my review of this book, I have linked to that review because I think it is so important for you to read it alongside this book, and I can link to that review specifically below because I think it's a really, really important perspective to have. That is my honorable mentions and my top 5 books that my opinion of changed, or that I feel differently about now than I did when I first read them. What are the books that your opinion of has changed, and what instigated that change? Was it aging? Was it a comment someone made? Was it a review that someone wrote? Was it just rereading the book and realizing there were things you hadn't seen the first time? Please let me know down below in the comments, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!